Hi all, we are dental hygiene students at Lake Washington Technical Institute. We will be presenting on our findings done during our research courses in the dental hygiene program.
As a dental hygiene students, we have been told from the start that our field is not only concerned with the oral cavity, but the entire body. Thus, we have taken courses that have explored how the body functions as a whole and where the oral cavity falls within that picture. Have you ever considered whether a toothache could turn from a mild inconvenience to a fatal event? That is exactly what a family had to experience with their son, Diamante Driver. During a previous course, our teacher shared his story, a boy who tragically died due to the spread of bacteria from an abscessed tooth to his brain, reported by Gallagher in 2018. This story sparked our interest in this field of research. We realized that our health is important not only for aesthetic reasons, but for the prevention of systemic diseases.
Specifically, we will be looking at the older populations. It is commonly known that patients with impaired cognitive abilities are at high risk of developing oral infections, such as periodontitis. For our research, we want to look at the opposite link.
We will be analyzing whether elderly patients with periodontitis disease are at higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease by looking at the possible pathways periodontal infections may take to reach the brain and the biological factors found in the oral cavity of patients with Alzheimer's disease and periodontitis.
Our method was conducting a literature review of peer-reviewed research articles found from databases such as PubMed, NCBI, ProQuest, and the LWTech library database. We use keywords such as periodontitis, Alzheimer's disease, poor oral hygiene, brain dementia, dental caries, and brain disease.
So what do each of these conditions entail? Alzheimer's disease is a developing brain condition that may be the result of lifestyle, genetic, and environmental components. It is characterized by decrease of brain matter and inflammatory processes, whereas periodontal disease is an infection of the periodontal bone due to bacterium. Inflammation plays a key role in both conditions and will be our main focus during our delivery of our research.
There are possible mechanisms for the pathway between periodontal infection and Alzheimer's disease. First is the direct effect of infectious pathogens. The oral cavity contains lots of bacteria, both good and bad. Plaque and calculus contains dense layer of gram-negative bacteria. If these bacteria penetrate the epithelium by periodontal disease, trauma, or immune suppressions, microbes can spread to cause acute or chronic infections. They may survive the oral cavity barriers and enter the bloodstream. The study by Watts et al. In 2008 has shown that Treponema bacteria is common associated with periodontal disease, are isolated microorganisms in moderate to severe periodontitis, but they are also detected in patients with Alzheimer's. Abaya et al. 2015 establishes that once the bacteria is in the bloodstream, they can induce acute phase response characterized by increased white blood cells counts and the release of inflammatory cytokines such as interleukin alpha, beta, and 6, tumor necrotic factor, and C-reactive protein. Tumor necrotic factor plays a major role in neurodegenerative disease. The elevated levels of C-reactive protein increase the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. According to Watts and co-authors, in individuals with Alzheimer's disease, elevated interleukin-1 beta predict rates of cognitive decline. Patients with elevated markers preceding a baseline exam show that greater rate of cognitive decline over 2 months follow-up period than those who did not have elevated levels prior to baseline. Though high levels of inflammatory markers predict dementia risk and cognitive decline in the demented, they may not be associated with decline in those with higher levels of normal cognitive functions. They found that anti-chymotrypsin elevated in some Alzheimer's disease patients compared to the controls was associated with declines in mental status, but not with measures of memory, fluid intelligence, or information processing speeds.
In continuation, similar biological markers may be found in both the oral cavity and in the brain. In 2009, Borrell et al. Published a study stating that individuals with high levels of P. gingivalis immunoglobulin G had significantly greater odds of impaired verbal memory and subtraction test performance, and this finding remained robust when adjusting for potential sociodemographic and vascular confounders. Another study conducted by Chen et al. In 2020 showed the link between the two diseases by identifying cathepsin B in each sample. A final study by Korean et al. Published in 2017 states that the periodontal microbiome does concur with the type of expected bacteria in Alzheimer's disease brains. As we were reviewing the articles on this subject, we noticed that little to no research has been done on periodontitis actually causing Alzheimer's disease. They mainly focused on demonstrating the link between the two conditions through similar microorganisms and biochemicals. This left us wondering whether these results are merely showing that they are related instead of periodontitis causing the development of Alzheimer's disease. We know from our dental hygiene courses that patients with mental disorders are more likely to have poor oral hygiene due to their diminished cognitive abilities. The elderly population is also known to have poor oral hygiene due to reduced salivary flow from aging or medication use, reduced hand dexterity, and the aging of oral structures. Therefore, elderly patients are more likely to develop both periodontitis and Alzheimer's disease. Consequently, assessing whether periodontitis is a cause of Alzheimer's disease in elderly populations may produce faulty results. While additional research is needed to assess whether periodontitis may be a risk factor to the development of Alzheimer's disease, we may conclude that there does in fact seem to be a link between the two conditions, due to the similar pathogens found in the brain and the oral cavity of a patient with periodontitis and Alzheimer's disease. From this understanding, the importance of providing oral care for patients with periodontitis is great to prevent the potential development of Alzheimer's disease.
And here is the list of our resources if you would like further information.
After attending our presentation, we would like to provide some questions to further your own understanding. We have discussed our concern that the link between Alzheimer's disease and periodontitis may be a correlation instead of causation. From our research, do you think that they are merely related due to the patient's lack of oral hygiene care? If not, what led you to that decision?
Our studies are concerned with elderly patients who have Alzheimer's disease and exhibit periodontitis. Do you think that future researchers should begin their studies with young to middle-aged people with periodontitis to study the possible development of Alzheimer's disease instead of using older populations who typically have declining oral health?
Thank you for your interest and attention during our presentation.